Hello, everybody. I'm Amanda Coulong. Welcome to This Week in Cloud Computing, Episode 7 already. I am joined here with my co-host, Mark Jeffrey, who's wearing a rather interesting T-shirt today.
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, he's hiding it.
Well, I'll show you guys. It's my Jethro Tull shirt. I have a big place in my heart for Jethro Tull, so I had to wear it today.
If I had known he was wearing it, I would have brought my flute in, but I didn't know. So next episode.
Maybe next week.
Well, to jump right into a few things, we've got some quick updates. We have a new Facebook page, so if you just search This Week in Cloud Computing, you can see all of our past episodes, not live, obviously, the ones that we've already recorded. And there's a YouTube section there. There is a This Weekend tab, so definitely check out our Facebook page.
I've actually got it up on my browser.
Oh, anyone want to see it? Let's pull that up on screen really fast.
There we go.
There we go.
So here we go. So this is inside Facebook. There's the last episode from last week, right? And then here's all the other previous episodes down here below. So the entire archive is going to be on this page. You can see up at the top here. And this is the This Week in Cloud Computing fan page. And you could basically find it by searching for This Week in Cloud Computing on Facebook. So you click on the YouTube tab. That'll get you this page here, Roberta, our new social media ninja.
Roberta is definitely a social media ninja, and I don't use that word lightly. Yeah,
we don't mean that tongue-in-cheek. Sometimes we do, but not with Roberta. She's awesome. There's a bunch of other new tabs and other things we're working on here. So this page is going to improve. If you're not a fan of us on Facebook, we invite you to come look at the page and fan up, and we're going to be adding lots more goodies in here over the coming weeks. So.
And obviously, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it is TweeCloudComp, and we either use the hashtag TWICC for the show or #cloud also.
Yeah.
So if you would like to use those and participate, or you can participate in the chat room because you're watching us live, I hope, right now, and get involved in the chat. But other few quick things. We have sponsors to thank, as always. We have Verticore.
Verticore was awesome today, by the way. I had some technical support issues with our site. Nothing terrible, just a few little things I needed to fix. They were on it. I had like 3 people calling me back within 5 minutes, so they're really awesome today.
There's a reason why we like them.
Yep, exactly.
And Storm on Demand.
Storm
on Demand.
We
will hear about later.
That's right.
Storm on Demand. And our guests, we do have some of them, even though they are virtual with us again this week. We have Jan Aleman, the CEO of Servoy. How are you, Jan?
Very good. How are you doing?
Wonderful. I'm glad to see that we can see you and hear you. So some technical things
Always
work well. And we'll jump into a discussion with Jan here shortly. And then Ranjith Kumaran, the CTO and founder of YouSendIt, is also joining us and will be giving us the app of the week. He'll be giving us a great demo of YouSendIt. So that will be coming later on in the show. But first, we have some news. Well, a few quick updates on the news front in terms of shows and whatnot. Cloud Expo is coming up. If you're a fan of that or have been before, it's April 19th through the 21st in New York City. This is a huge show. Did you know how big it was?
I didn't really know much about the show before. Actually, I saw it on the show notes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, are now up on the website. So
you can see our show notes.
Before the show and after the show notes will always be up from now on.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, by 2012, more than 50,000 delegates per year will participate in the Cloud Expo worldwide. So some have called it the new PC Expo or Comdex, an internet world of our decade. Would you agree with that?
They say by 2012, so I'd have to see the numbers for this year to really believe that. So I don't know.
And that's a tall order.
It is a tall order, but as we all know, the cloud is getting a lot of play. So are they probably selling tickets? They probably are. So.
Yeah, this is true. So the big piece of news with that, though, is if you want to go to Cloud Expo and save $550 on your registration, make sure you sign up by April 2nd, which is in 2 days.
Yeah.
So I will make sure we get the link up for that after the fact, so you can have it actually.
And it's in the show notes.
And it's in the show notes if you go look at our show notes. So Cloud Expo. Also, Tier 1 Research, which is a division of the 451 group, is holding its 3rd annual cloud hosting Transformation Summit in London on June 15th. So if you have Wanderlust, then
what is the Transformation Summit? That's what I didn't quite get.
I think the whole transformation piece of it is that it's typically a show specifically on hosting and co-location.
Okay, so transforming your co-location basically to a cloud.
Yeah, exactly. Really so they're trying to find a way to tie cloud into.
They're cloud washing.
Yes, they're cloud washing. Okay. So speaking opportunities are still available for that. So if you would like to submit, please contact Phil Shee, and I will put this here for you all.
Yep.
Phil, S-H-I-H.
At Phil at T1R, and that's T numerical 1R.com.
And I just put that in the chat room for you. So that is if you would like to submit a speaking opportunity. But I want to jump into some facts and figures so that we can get Jan and Ranjith involved with this. IDC, the analyst firm, is saying that IT budgets worldwide for cloud computing are forecasted to surge to $42 billion by 2012 from about $16 billion in 2008. I mean, we're talking really big numbers here. But what I want to say before we get into the discussion is, on the opposite side of that, you have other research by Version 1 that's saying two-thirds of senior business executives and 41% of senior IT professionals admit that they don't know what cloud computing is. These are IT professionals that they flat out say they don't know.
Yeah.
And then you have a Chadwick Martin Bailey survey from earlier this year saying 24% of polled IT decision makers were not able to define cloud computing. So these, a huge amount of, back and forth here. So my question is for all of you, with these levels of uncertainty, is the IDC forecast unrealistic and bloated? Mark, do you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I think that, we discuss this every show. How you define the cloud, right?
Right.
So it depends on, there could be a lot of things mixed in this report, right? So
right.
By 2012, they're saying it's 42 billion, but that could very well be stuff that's that could be money that's already being spent now on existing infrastructure that they're just now calling cloud. It's not like the money actually moved anywhere. So it's hard to tell. Unless you see the details. We talk about this every show. So it's getting to be a little bit, we all know there's an issue with semantics.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to the version 1 report, which they basically, the IT professionals, I'm sure everyone has an idea in their head. It's an ink blot test, really, what you think cloud computing is. So
exactly.
Everyone sees their own shadow in it, or they don't, one or the other. So.
Well, Jan, real quick, what do you think? We've got two disparate numbers going on here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's there's a difference between what's happening and what the CEO thinks that is going on in the companies. Very often we find that the people that run the company are not as tied to technology as people that use the technology are, and that's really what I think that in this research is going on, that the technology is ahead of reality, as it often happens, that people start using things. I think Skype and chat are good examples. People start using it, and then companies start realizing, oh, we are using these technologies. Now, how do we regulate them, and how do we integrate them well into our companies?
That's a really good point. And what do you think, Ranjith?
First of all, Jan, I was having a little bit of trouble hearing you, so turn up the mic a little bit. But I think just in our experience, we sell into IT organizations and CIOs with our enterprise products, and having been to a lot of the analyst conferences, what we're finding is, as far as kind of the future of the IT organization, or the future of how IT can support growing the business, cloud computing is top of mind, at least from a persona standpoint, a buyer persona standpoint. So I think it's not out of the question that we'll see the end game for IT organizations be less about cabling and power consumption, and how do you enable your workforce, your customers to work better with you. So cloud is an easier way to get there than having to do all the heavy lifting yourself.
Sure.
Are you finding do you have a direct experience with this confusion with what cloud computing means yourself, or are you finding that confusion is out there?
Yeah, I think whenever I'm asked to define cloud computing, I fall back on you're renting CPU cycles and you're renting bandwidth and storage. Beyond that, it's just a mess. People look at companies like YouSendIt as cloud, and we never thought of ourselves as cloud. We just thought
really? Okay.
Full hosted application for business productivity, and we kind of backed into the cloud computing initiative, I think.
Interesting. We'll get into that a little bit further into the show. I really want to delve into that a bit more. Let's move on to another story, since this is so near and dear to all of our hearts right now. IRS and tax season.
Always a good one. Yep.
But I want to explore this from the perspective of the IRS, really getting the data centers locked down for tax season. So You've got IT executives at the IRS saying that it's made huge strides in modernizing its data centers. That's been a big topic of discussion leading up to tax day. They processed 139 million returns and issued 298 billion refunds in 2009. So they have a lot of data center space available because of the consolidation. And this may play a role in the Obama administration's ambitions to shift some government applications to a cloud computing model.
Right.
So do you think this is going to help? I mean, the fact that they've actually taken the effort with their data centers, specifically with the IRS. You've got Tony McMahon, who's the director of enterprise computing centers for the IRS, saying there's a big drive for Treasury agencies to take advantage of existing space. These are large data centers. The government wants to have its own cloud, and IRS data centers are being looked at for that.
Oh, I see. So I'm trying to understand what the point of this article was, and I guess it's that the IRS has already beefed up their internal cloud. The other government agencies are looking at that saying, hey, maybe we could surf off of that and put our applications on that cloud since the IRS has already done the heavy lifting. So they're basically like the Amazon.com of the government.
Of the government.
The first mover, if you will. And they built it for another reason, and now everyone's looking at them. So, okay. Interesting.
So, Jan, do you think that this is going to help with the government's adoption of the cloud?
I think it is, yes. It's the government has always been, well, I'm obviously based in the Netherlands, one of the European countries, not very well known in all of the world. But we are seeing that the government is always following in what the crowd wants. And very often they're fairly ahead because of the demand that they're seeing in the market. And they don't want to stay behind. So here in Holland, for example, we're seeing that we have a tax filing application for Linux, even though maybe 1 out of 10,000 people here in the Netherlands are using Linux. They have a Linux-based application to file your taxes because they feel that it's good to be a democracy in doing so. And I think the same is happening with cloud. We are seeing that our Dutch government is very strongly looking at the USA government, where you have found very strong adoption of the cloud with the new, I think you call it CTO of your government.
Right.
Yes.
That is looking very strongly in cloud adoption. And I recently joined as a board member of the EuroCloud, and we're very much looking at the USA as an example on following the fact that the government is looking at cloud because of cost savings. So we're looking at the governments are trying to save costs, and cloud computing has been proven to save costs for different, a lot of very good reasons from a technical point of view, from the user point of view. So I think that good things are going on with cloud, and in my perception, the adoption is going quicker than I was expecting that it would be going on.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and you mentioned EuroCloud. I saw that when I looked at your bio earlier. I noticed that. And I went poking around, and I'm trying to understand. There's a lot of standards bodies that are now arising. We've talked about a couple of them on the show. Could you tell us a little bit about EuroCloud and how it sort of fits into the pantheon of standards bodies that appear to be popping up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, first of all, it's good to point out that if you look at Europe from a USA point of view, then you should really see Europe as the union of the different European countries. So where you guys have, I think it's 52 states, if I'm not mistaken, we have a bit less countries, which are probably comparable to states, all of them with different laws. And in Europe, they're trying to bring them together, and the EuroCloud is trying to make that happen on the cloud level. And one of the things when I joined EuroCloud was still one of the things that Europe has much more than the USA is this whole country feeling that I'm Italian, so I need to make a pizza. I'm French, so I need to make my French thing. And I think that one of the things that the internet, and in particular the cloud, brings together is more the feeling that it's one world. We're trying to make IT easier to approach, and cloud computing is a thing that brings the world together. Well, first of all, on the European level, but also on the international level, where we can share technologies where we can share best practices. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with EuroCloud. And we're also looking at, I'm also one of the speakers at SaaS University. That's more a USA-based thing that's going on. And I'm trying to bring those technologies and information together to make the world work together on cloud computing. Because obviously there's best practices in every country. In the Nordics, they have best practices. In the south of Europe, in the USA, there are best practices. And how can we bring all those things together to make it work in an optimal way?
So, question for you: on past shows, we had a British gentleman on, I believe, a couple weeks ago, and the point that we were discussing was the politics behind the cloud, and how, if your data centers are all over the world, there's a fear, specifically in Europe, that the cloud is an American phenomenon, and that basically it's being, probably not purposefully, but is being used to shove American values of privacy, or lack of values, as the Europeans may say, on Europe and on other parts of the world. But I'm hearing something sort of different from you, I think, Jan. Would you agree with that, or would you disagree with that?
Yeah, both at the same time.
Okay, even making it more complex. But please, elucidate.
So one of the, we actually had, my company had John Dvorak over last year. And as you probably know, John Dvorak is a very good critic on, well, anything technology, I would say.
Yes, exactly.
And we had him over at a software as a service discussion here in Amsterdam. And one of the audience asked him, so what do you think about Google? And then John Dvorak said, so imagine that Google was invented by the US government. They know more about you than we ever knew about you. Wouldn't that be brilliant? And I think that is a very good positioning of the mixed feelings about cloud computing. That if you really think somebody is gathering all this information about me, then yes, there are a lot of reasons that you can think that cloud computing is a danger. At the same time, you have to keep in mind with the current security issues in computers. Last week, there was this hacking contest that people hacked both Safari and Internet Explorer and Firefox, I think in about 8 seconds. So essentially, if anybody really wants to take over your computer, anybody that wants to make money on it, they can do it.
Yeah.
So I think if your focus is mainly on all the potential security issues, then yeah, you should just disconnect yourself completely from the internet and buy some food or go hunting in the woods. The alternative is, be open and realize that if you're hooked up to the internet, there is a risk. At the same time, I also have credit cards. I realize that somebody can hack my credit card, but if somebody, and this happens to me as well because I travel a lot, sometimes people take out money out of my credit card. I'll just ring up my bank and say, listen, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
And so far, my bank has always said, all right, we agree with you. You pay us some money every year as well. So I think if you keep some trust in technology, at the end of the day, it works out fine as well.
So it's the cost of doing business, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let's jump a little bit more into like one or two more stories, and then we'll continue the discussion, Jan, because there are a few things that we would like to highlight with you. We had Earth Hour, just this past weekend, so I don't know who participated in it, but on Saturday, it was the largest public demonstration in history. Did you know that?
I didn't know that at all.
I was shocked. The largest public demonstration in history.
So what is it? What is Earth Hour? Right?
So hundreds of millions of people, literally hundreds of millions around the world turned off their lights in 1 hour. And it was in support of the World Wildlife, say this 10 times fast, the World Wildlife Fund's Earth Hour.
Okay.
So it calls for action on climate change. So lots of large organizations got involved in this too. We had government officials in 4,000 cities across 125 countries that all turned out. And so you had like the Space Needle shutting down for an hour, things like that. I mean, you had large buildings, even skyscrapers and whatnot.
So the idea was just turn out your lights for an hour.
Turn out your lights for an hour, save some energy, be more efficient.
What if I need to check my email? I'm just saying. Anyway, continue. Please.
Generator for your smartphone.
iPhone, got it.
But there were some instances. There was one Canadian company, I think, that powered down its data centers.
Oh, wow.
So any idle servers were actually shut down. And so I'm wondering, Jan or Ranjith, do you guys know about anyone who did this, or did you hear of any of this news? And what are your thoughts on actually powering down those idle resources in a data center? Ranjith, what do you think?
Well, I hadn't heard about anyone powering down a data center. Certainly, I know a lot of sites that went dark, meaning they didn't light any pixels on their homepage.
Great.
Like that. Around here, we kind of think of the environment and Earth Day and Earth Hour as an ongoing commitment. We are a paper replacement solution, so we are California Green certified.
That's why we were thinking of you, because obviously you're taking away the need to send all of these printed documents back and forth. So
yeah, and these days we estimate somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million paper envelopes are saved. Because things start digital, stay digital with YouSendIt. But as far as kind of sustainability, we've tried to build a sustainable company in the sense that everything, our whole office is on time. Lights go off when we're not here. We use recycled furniture. We do have every year we do have our community of users pledge support to save trees and water every Earth Day. So it's an ongoing commitment to us. I think it's great that a lot of companies are thinking about social responsibility. Powering down data centers, well, we're a 24/7, 220 country service, and during that hour, we didn't see too much drop in usage.
I got to be honest. If I knew my data center was powering down stuff, it would kind of freak me out. I'll be completely honest. As former CTO of Mahalo, I'd be like, yeah.
Well, I guess the point that it made me think of too is, when it comes to green, a data center is still a data center. Cloud computing or not, however we're defining things.
It's not somehow more green because it's a cloud.
Yeah, exactly. So is it more green because it's the cloud? My answer is no. What do you think, Jan?
Well, I think that the cloud actually has a very big significance in going green. And we actually had a couple of our customers, and our customers essentially moved from classic software to cloud computing-based software with our technology. So if you look at classic software, then if you want to take it online, you need Citrix or terminal services to make it deployable over the internet. And some of our customers have done tests, and they find that with a software package like ours, but we're not the only one. I mean, there's many web-based software packages that make this happen. They can reduce the server load by 90%. So this 90%. Is not about this is not about 10% savings by some green bits or those kind of things, but this is 90% savings on CPU usage simply by using true cloud computing. So what I call fake cloud computing is taking a classic software application and then rolling it out using remote video technology. So that is essentially Windows Terminal Services or Citrix. So you essentially put a classic app on a centralized server and then push the video over the internet. And that consumes server-side and client-side a lot of electricity at the end of the day.
Right.
With modern platforms like ours, you turn that around. You use whatever is available on resources on the client. You reduce bandwidth usage. You reduce server-side usage. And this is really green. I mean, you can turn off all the lights on the planet and try to save some electricity. Or the entire world can say, let's change software how it's written today, and let's move it to real cloud computing-based platforms. And that's where you save true energy. And I think that's... And my feeling is that worldwide, none of the governments is realizing this. They don't have the information that moving to true cloud-based computing, moving to real internet-based applications is a very big change in how we can reduce the electricity that is necessary to roll out information to employees. For example, if we look at our own office, Servoy has 12 offices worldwide. None of our 12 offices has a local server. There are no local servers. There are no local backups. There are no local recovery things. It's all one centralized server running in a data center in Amsterdam, and that's it. And this server is accessible. Either I can open it up, our CRM, from my iPhone or on my notebook. Like now, when I need a webcam, I'm using my Mac to do that. But wherever I am, even if I'm visiting my neighbors, I could just open up their Windows machine and go onto our system. So it's less client-side resources, less server-side resources that you need to use together. And I think this is the big thing that cloud computing really promises, because we remove the lock-in from the classic Windows platform. You can use any type of client platform, whether it's a Windows, a Mac, or Linux, or an iPhone, or an Android phone. You can use it. And server-side, you need less resources. You're not bound into a specific closed platform, but an open, standards-based system that uses less resources.
Perfect.
And that's really the big difference.
Wonderful. Well, before we continue specifically with the discussion about Servoy, I think we hear something.
We do hear something.
We hear something.
There it is.
In the studio.
That's right.
What is that?
That is Storm on Demand. I have to make my mouth move now. I've just had wisdom tooth surgery last week, so my mouth is going to
that was the other
get my
update
storm
we
on.
did give.
That's right. Storm on Demand. Storm on Demand is an infrastructure as a service cloud computing platform that is powerful enough to replace dedicated servers. Also, they have cool little guys, like this one right here. A proprietary cloud platform that was designed by Liquid Web, one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. It is easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include get your server set up in minutes. It's really easy to scale, backup and restoration capabilities, pay-as-you-go utility-style billing, and options that you can get with it include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, fully managed servers, private networking, and much more. Also, the new slogan that they have for Storm on Demand is Beyond Dedicated. Beyond Dedicated. Storm on Demand can be found at stormondemand.com. Beyond Dedicated. Thank you.
Beyond Dedicated.
Beyond Dedicated.
We are beyond dedicated to Storm on Demand and covering cloud computing.
Absolutely.
Well, let's dive in. Let's dive into more of a discussion here with Jan. You've obviously said you're the secretary of EuroCloud Compendium, but in addition to that, you're a published author. You've been heavily quoted in many IT journals, and you're on the steering committee of the ICT Office of SaaS and the Cloud Group. So lots of good background here. And Servoy, I would like you to give us a little bit of an overview of Servoy. You're a Deloitte Fast 50 technology company to start, and you've created this hybrid platform to help build and develop applications much faster than traditional development environments. So what I want to dive into with you, Jan, is first off, why a hybrid development platform?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that, and actually, I think there's many ways that you can talk about what the definition of hybrid is. If you look at what the dictionary says, then looking at my dictionary, it says the offspring of two animals of different breeds as produced through human manipulation for specific genetic characteristics.
Is this why you chose hybrid?
So essentially, it's really mixing two things, which I think is the second definition in a dictionary. Crossbreeding two unlike cultures is really the definition. And that's essentially what we're doing. And we're doing this on different levels. So we're doing this on classic versus modern computing. So our platform allows you to develop an application that you install on premises or using software as a service, which is mainly cloud computing based. At the same time, we also do the smart client, which is a native client on, for example, a Windows or a Mac machine, versus a web client, which is a browser-based client. And we do this mix on a lot of different levels within our platforms. We allow you to connect to any database, deploy to any browser, deploy to any operating system. And we think this is really important in today's changing technology world, where maybe today you think Windows is the king, and maybe tomorrow you think Mac is the king. So we don't believe in the lock-in. That's back in the days, Windows obviously was the king of lock-in, but today I would say Apple is the new king of the lock-in.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, they first tried to lock you in on the iPhone, and the iPad is the next platform. They want to move you away from Flash, and obviously everybody has their different ideas on Java wants you to go Java applets, Adobe wants you to go Flash, Microsoft wants you to go Silverlight, but I think that the future is open. The future is you want, in particular if you're developing software as a company, you want your end user to be able to use it. And that's the key thing that we want to do. And we also look at what are the actual topics in the market, being green, being a platform that can run online and offline, depending on what you need to. And we also like to take the criticism serious. So, for example, I'm seeing real time on your Broadcasting Live forum, Mr. T.S. Stoliker saying data centers burn truckloads of coal every hour. And I think that is something that we have to keep in mind as online computing companies. What is the energy that we're using online, and how can we reduce that? So one of the things he is mentioning is how can you use less power if you're using server-side and client-side power? Well, my answer is if you can reduce that on both ends, then you're in business. So, for example, our platform, and we're not unique in that. So I'm not trying here to say our platform is better than whatever Microsoft or Google or Apple is doing, but we're just trying to look at how can you optimize the usage of power on both ends. So we try to use less server resources by doing a couple of simple things like load balancing on the database server, caching things. A lot of products don't use the modern functions that CPUs make available. So we optimally use the caching built into CPUs today, the 64-bit capabilities that a lot of classic applications don't use.
Yep.
And I think that is something that today's vendors are not looking into. Microsoft, and I had an interesting discussion with a Microsoft VP last week at a conference. And I'm probably not allowed to really say this. I'm sure he will ring me up tomorrow in the morning, but I'll just say it.
But please go ahead.
Please do.
So this Microsoft VP, I was sort of challenging this Microsoft VP on. I said, you guys are really lagging on your new platforms. Google is doing all this cool stuff with Google Docs, with Google Mail, and we don't really need Exchange and Outlook anymore. And this Microsoft guy says, don't you think that we had this available 3 years ago? I was like, okay, this is interesting. They said, of course we had this available, but we are making $3 billion license revenue on this.
Yeah.
Why would we make this available?
Wow.
Yeah, they can't cannibalize themselves in order to move to the next step.
Right.
That's what they're facing. And
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think we all agree that they're on a downward slope unless they just do it, in some form sooner or later. I think everyone agrees with that, except for Microsoft at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that there's an opportunity for companies that have alternatives to this, and obviously we're not competing on the main topics that Microsoft does, which is Exchange and groupware and email and those type of things. We're mainly a development platform that allows companies to build software that is easy to use on cloud computing-based environments. But I think that there are many of these kind of topics that companies should look at, and they should look further than just the classic offerings. So not just what is Microsoft offering, what is IBM offering, what is Oracle offering, but if you're a company that is looking forward and you're looking at responsible computing, at green computing, you have to look at what is available in the market, what are the alternatives, what are the new companies doing, take them serious, and there should be more attention on those kind of topics, in my opinion.
So like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Ballmer said, we're betting the future of Microsoft on the cloud. We are all in on the cloud, was his exact words. Yeah. Do you think that is just Ballmer basically saying to the market, look, we're going to do cloud, don't worry about it, and just be quiet and don't say we're not doing cloud? Or is he serious? Is he really ready to cannibalize the existing revenues that they're getting off of Office, et cetera? Are they actually going to have the guts to really do it now, do you think?
Well, I think that Microsoft is, if you look at software history, then they're probably the best company in reinventing themselves. So they really understand, and when the internet came along and they first ignored it, they were very quickly to admit that, yes, the internet exists and we have to do something about it. And they are seeing the same now, and I would say probably quicker than with the internet. They're now seeing that cloud computing is really the future, and they realize that their classic source of income, which is Office and Windows mainly, is going to go away. I mean, the operating system and desktop processing is not the future. So they realize we need to be in cloud computing. And I think that from a technical point of view, I understand the Microsoft Azure platform very well. It's a very good platform. It's built up. I mean, it's built by the guy that invented Lotus Notes. He's one of the leading guys over
Ray
there.
Ozzie.
Yeah, Ray Ozzie. He really gets it.
Yeah, Ray does get it. I completely agree with that.
He was a very good hire in that respect, and they're really getting up to speed. But their goal is still the absolute lock-in. So what I think is really a big difference between, if you look at the newer vendors like Google compared to Microsoft, is that Microsoft is still very focused on the lock-in. Let's get you on our Azure platform. On the Azure platform, SQL Server, their main database, Windows, their main operating system, are still the only options. Right. If you look at Google, they give you a broader option. If you look at Amazon with their EC2 platform, they give you an even broader option. If you look at the sponsor that you just mentioned, they give you an even broader option. So I think that's also something you have to look into, that the newer challengers of Amazon and of Microsoft Azure have really to be looked into seriously, because they give you more choice
I agree with that.
In what you can do. And the goal of Microsoft is still lock-in. If you look at what Google is saying, is they say, look, we give you Google Mail, we give you Google Apps, but give you very broad APIs. If you don't like us tomorrow, get out of our system, go somewhere else. And I think that is a very good way of modern business. And we are doing the same with our platform as well. We say we have an open platform. We think that we give you a lot of benefits, but if you don't like us, it's open. Take your code out, go somewhere else if you don't think that we're the best anymore. And that removing that lock-in is really the future of software.
I like that. That's your quote for the day. Removing that lock-in is the future of software.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a former CTO, I'd love that. That's actually one of the fears. The big fears about going to the cloud is that you are locked in. You can't get your stuff out once it's in there. Right. Whoever you choose, you're basically stuck there, because moving it from one place to another is difficult. It's not easy.
I think we need to have a quick break to mention another one of our wonderful sponsors.
Is it that time already? Okay.
It is indeed. We have to talk about Verticore.
We do. So Verticore. Actually, let me prepare my screen properly.
Prepare the screen for Verticore.
There we go. So Verticore is the cloud provider that we're using for thisweekend.com. And as I said earlier, I was on the phone with them a couple of times today, or chat rooms and stuff.
Thank you, Verticore.
They were on it. It was awesome. So if your cloud hosting provider is letting you down, take a look at managed private cloud solutions from Verticore. They're a managed private cloud solution that can easily replace your current IT infrastructure and eliminate IT pains. You can avoid completely the cost and hassle of buying and maintaining IT equipment and software, those nasty wires and boxes and power. You don't have to deal with it. Deliver 100% uptime to your 100% uptime to your end users. Configure and deploy computing resources in just minutes. Basically, they just have a little panel comes up, you check boxes, and boom, you're up and running in just minutes. Literally, I did it, so I know. With Verticore, your private cloud is hosted in an advanced and secure data center. Uses only the best-in-class hardware and software, giving you access to virtually unlimited bandwidth. Verticore's team of experts monitor and maintain your private cloud 24/7/365, freeing your internal staff to concentrate on supporting only your applications and projects that can help your company grow. Verticore at verticore.com, and that's Virtacore, verticore.com.
And I will put that on the chat, Virtacore.com. Jan, I have one more thing I want to focus on with you, because you are such a proponent of ISVs, independent software vendors. And I would like you to explain just a little bit why you target these independent software vendors and how your product benefits them.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Well, the ISVs have classically been helped a lot by the so-called 4GL environments, and 4GL were really the languages that were easier and more productive to use than the lower level programming languages. And because of this productivity, smaller companies were able to deliver solutions, in particular in vertical markets, to a wide range of companies, whether that was in CRM or in logistics or in healthcare. And what I'm seeing a lot is that, in particular, these smaller companies are very well informed about the companies that they work with. So they know, if they're in healthcare, they know this is my market. I've been in this market for some time. I've built up a lot of knowledge about what is going on over here, and all I need is to transfer my knowledge into software. And if you need to do that, then you need a product that is easy to use, it is productive, and most 4GLs gave that. But the problem with most 4GLs is that they didn't understand the internet. So you need scalability, openness of standards, HTML output, those kind of things. And when I started Servoy in 1997 with a couple of research guys, in particular from Bahn Research, one of the leading ERP vendors, we found that it was very difficult to move companies to internet-based technologies. It was a very different way of thinking and programming. And eventually, we figured out a way to bring these worlds together to make internet development as simple and easy and productive to use as 4GL-based development. And this has helped about, at this point in time, 500 ISVs worldwide to take their products to the next level. Because if they would have to go to purely internet-based technologies like Microsoft.NET or plain Java, then they would require very much larger development teams to be able to do that. And,
right.
And that's really the key thing that we do, is we bring it down and make it easy enough to use. Not plain simple. So Servoy is not an end-user tool. We are a development tool, so you really have to be a developer. You really have to be a tech guy to understand our product. Let me bring that up front as well. With that, you can really program an application in an easy way.
Excellent. Well, one thing you just mentioned was, a lot of apps are written in some non-Java or .NET tool sets. So would you maybe talk briefly about just the cycle of rewriting applications, and what that pain point is, how you're solving that specifically? Because In an interview that you recently did, you said it's a multi-billion-dollar market. 85% of all applications are written in some non-Java or .NET toolset. 85%.
I believe that.
So, you know,
Yeah, sure.
that actually surprised me. I didn't know the number would be so high.
But I think it's actually higher. I mean, this number comes from either Gartner or Forrester, and it also depends who you talk to. I mean, if you talk to Micro Focus, one of the biggest vendors of COBOL on the planet, Micro Focus actually claims that more than 65% of all software is still based on COBOL.
Oh my God, I
Wow.
hope not. Yeah. I hope you're wrong about that, but you might be right.
Will that ever change? I mean, will COBOL just stay COBOL?
Whenever I'm at any shop, so whenever I go to either a store or to rent a car, I always try to look over the counter and see what they're running.
Yeah.
And I still frequently see COBOL-based applications.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah, I don't think it's 65% like Micro Focus claim, but it's still a significant amount. And if you look at 4GL, then the amount is even bigger. And you know, if you look at a classic Windows application, there's nothing wrong with 4GL. If you have your server close to your desktop, then a Windows machine is running your server environment. There's nothing wrong with that. So the fact that the classic 4GLs, if you look at Progress, Uniphase, Delphi, Fox Pro, Visual Basic, there's about 100 4GLs that were very successful. There is no reason to stop using them until you need the internet.
Right.
So whether that's deploying to more users than you currently need to deploy to, whether that's deploying to different countries than you're currently deploying to, whether that's multiple offices, multiple languages. I think today for any company, there are at least 10 reasons to move to internet-based computing, software as a service, and cloud-based computing. And then you really need to move to a new platform. Okay. And if you're then moving off 4GL, going to the internet, a lot of times Java or Microsoft.NET or PHP or Ruby on Rails are your only choices.
Right.
And they all have their particular limitations. And what we're doing really is bring the capabilities of 4GL into the internet-based era, and that's where our focus is with our company.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Jan. So everyone, that's Servoy. Make sure you check it out. And we'll put all of the links for each of the companies up at the end of the show. I want to move on now, though. We do have this new segment here.
Yeah, we don't have a package for it yet, so don't freak out.
Yeah,
Kenny.
we don't have a package for it yet.
Yeah,
yeah, so you know, next week Kenny will have.
Kenny doesn't know. Kenny's our guy. Is one of our many amazing techs that work with us. So.
But we're going to be focusing on one product application of the week, and we
kind of an app of the week.
An app of the week.
SaaS.
But an SaaS of the week.
Exactly.
And so that is why we have Ranjith with YouSendIt, who is still here with us. I hope. Are you still here, Ranjith?
I am still here.
We're going to try out a WebEx here.
Yeah, actually, Ranjith, I was trying to talk to you in the chat window there. The desktop takeover thing doesn't appear to be up anymore. I had it up earlier, and it appears to have vanished. So you might want to just restart that. And then once you do that, then we can move to your demo.
Exactly. Well, while the guys are sorting out that, I'll give everyone a brief overview. We have Ranjith, who's co-founder of YouSendIt, and he serves also as the CTO. And you're responsible for product management, corporate marketing for YouSendIt. And YouSendIt was founded in 2004. You've been around for a few years.
Wow.
And it's the #1 secure digital file delivery company on the web with nearly 12 million registered users. I am one of them. I use this all the time. I mean, I hate sending anything in paper. I don't use the mail.
Yeah, no,
I don't use the mail. I use things like this just to send basics. I mean, people send music files, people send, big, huge presentation files, things like that to each other. I mean, it's great for independent consultants. And
clearly needed. There's clearly
exactly.
Because you can't email this stuff. You just can't email past. I think it's 5 megs on, on Gmail, or 5 gigs, sorry.
So really straightforward value proposition, I think, with YouSendIt. And I mean, lots and lots of users here, even enterprise companies. So you have ABC, you've got Chevron, Disney, eBay, MTV, Shell. I mean, tons of flagship clients. So I believe we've got the demo
it's up
ready
and running,
to go. Ranjith, we're going to turn it over to you to run through the product. I want people to see how YouSendIt works.
Yeah, sure. You did a great job of describing the simple value proposition. Typically, users find us when they have a large file sending problem. That's what we're the recognized leader for. And when you're dealing with email bounce backs, or you're not quite sure how to spell FTP, or you don't have time to burn a CD and drive it over to the conference center, that's typically why you start using YouSendIt. However, over time, we find people find value in the branded experience, and I'm not sure if the desktop is showing yet, but
yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're live on the desktop. So go ahead.
Yeah, I've got custom branding on the application today. This is actually my account. I like ice cream, so I branded it with ice cream.
I knew we liked you for a reason.
That's right, and it's very simple. We try to keep it a very familiar interface like webmail. So, for example, in this demo, I'm going to send a file to my Gmail account. I am a Gmail user as well because, as you know, even though Gmail can handle 5 gigs of storage and 20 megs of email attachments, it's very much a recipient problem. It doesn't matter how much I can send or store. If I happen to be sending into an enterprise where there's only a 1 meg limit, then I'm definitely going to get a bounce back.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and it's very simple. Here you can browse for a file, and then just go pick a small image, maybe one of those safe sample images on Windows. Some of the other features that our users are using, expiration options. So, for example, we have lawyers using it, and they say, once the file has been downloaded once, I want you guys to shred it. I don't want you to host it anymore.
Yep.
Or I need this file picked up in the next 24 hours. Or I need this file to never expire. We have all those options. Security, password protection, and recipient authentication.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's kind of like FedEx. So I can track my digital package.
It's a very good analogy. People use it, for mission-critical IP, important documents, secure documents. It's usually a last-minute kind of transaction. We get lots of emails from people who say, wow, you really saved the conference, or you really saved my job because I was unable to get this through until I used YouSendIt, and then I was also able to track, did it get to the right person, what are they saying about it, things like that. So I'm just going to hit send here while we talk, and basically, once the upload completes, now the file is sitting on our server, but what we've actually sent out is not the file itself, but a notification to your recipient saying, click on this link and you can download it. And I believe I have one of those up as well, so this is a sample. I did a poor job of branding this one, but...
Tisk, tisk.
I like the ice cream better. Ice cream's all I've been able to eat for the last week.
I love the ice cream.
Yeah, and there's a link to a file. You click on it, and what's neat about it is, unlike email or FTP, YouSendIt will actually let you know when the file has been picked up. So it doesn't go into an email black box. It doesn't go into an FTP server where you don't know which file to pick up or who's picking it up. The last compelling angle I'll talk about today is also accessibility from different platforms. Inside Outlook, Outlook is a common use case for us where the Outlook server in an enterprise is not responding because email boxes are getting so full, and now as an IT administrator, I need to back it up and I need to secure it, and I'm just throwing bodies against it. Now you can offload the choke point, which is typically, as content gets larger, I can't store that much anymore, so you can outsource that to YouSendIt. Something that we've just gotten into recently, about a year ago, is mobile workflows as well. So an interesting thing is when I send out a sales proposal to a customer, when should I follow up with them? Well, now when I'm on the go, I'm waiting for the plane, I can look at what files did I send and has it actually been picked up by the client. So now I can follow up with an email. So much like the FedEx use case.
Mm-hmm. One quick thing I wanted to bring up, Ranjith, was file transfers are coming to GChat, Google Chat. Now, you've been around since 2004. What challenges do you foresee them dealing with this? I mean, you've got the experience here, so would you have any words of advice for Google when it comes to file transfers?
Yeah, I mean, not to negotiate against myself, but some of the lessons learned is I think early on I decided, and the company decided, that it's very hard to change user behavior, and if a user need is not there, then don't serve it. So we found is it's very much a recipient problem. So we need to figure out if I'm a GChat user, how can I get non-GChat users to accept this file and be able to download it? So do both users on each end need to be GChat users? How do I get around that?
Yeah, that's interesting that they chose to. I'm sorry, let me just interrupt you for a second. Implementation detail. They chose to do it within GChat, not as an attachment in Gmail.
Exactly.
Which is what you guys did. You essentially used the email metaphor. They used the chat file transfer metaphor.
Right, and it's very much a real-time collaboration over chat, whereas we do more of a offline collaboration. And that's what we're finding is inside the office. Over 70% of collaboration is offline. We're not always on chat together working on something.
Right.
Or it's asynchronous.
Yeah,
asynchronous. That's right. That's a good way to put it. We have an international business with one leg of the transfer in the U.S. and one in Europe. So there are times when we're just not awake at the same time to work together.
What do you think Gmail did it in GChat? That just seems stupid.
Well, I'm curious too about the security implications because I know of companies like Iconics in San Diego that are specifically about IM security.
Yeah.
And there are huge problems with transferring files through chat. I mean, that's just a breeding ground, I would think, for bots and all kinds of things.
So why do you think they did it this way?
One of the reasons we like the email flow is there are already email standards and security around it, and we just plug right into the
Gotcha.
different filters and compliance issues that we have.
Now, you said, interestingly enough, at the beginning that you didn't really consider yourself a SaaS company, and that you've kind of, jumped more into cloud as it's kind of grown and become more of a known term. What's your take specifically on the cloud now, and how do you fit into that?
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether we jumped into it. We tend to get pulled into a lot of these movements. Like when Web 2.0 was a buzzword, suddenly YouSendIt was a Web 2.0.
Yeah.
That's great. We happen to allow consumers and business to share social objects, so we're suddenly a social media company too.
Yeah.
And cloud is no different. You have to go back in time to think about when we launched. I mean, we literally built our own data centers, and we still run most of our operations in our own data centers because it was only over a year after we launched that wonderful things like EC2 and Mechanical Turk and S3 and payment systems, on-demand payment systems came out.
Yeah.
So we built most of these things ourselves in the first couple of years of the company. So that's where we come from. Is that we saw the need. There weren't a whole lot of cloud players back then, so we built it ourselves just to focus on the right user experience and how do you make the whole transaction as seamless as possible.
If you were starting today, would you build it on something like EC2 or a cloud provider like Storm on Demand or one of these other offerings? Do you think?
I would look to the market first. So if it's acceptable to the market that I'm not FAST 70 compliant in the cloud and I don't manage my own data centers, it's great. I've met CTOs that say they will never move to the cloud because the only place they can host is inside a mountain that's thermonuclear proof.
Right.
Identity management for the government, and those guys are going to take a long time to come up. But what I do know is every single company I know in the Valley around the world is becoming cloud ready. So it's not a matter of if, but when it happens.
Not a matter of if, but when. Interesting. Well, you've been around since 2004. Here it is, 2010. Where are you guys going this year? What's the new focus now?
Yeah, you can see the evolution of YouSendIt was from kind of an individual end user experience, and then we got pulled into a small office, home office, which reflects a lot of the consumer behavior.
Right.
And once we got there, we got pulled into IT organizations who said, "Hey, I've got 300 free users here, and I either need to kill it or embrace it." So we're embracing that. A few years ago, we launched our first corporate product, which allows IT administrators to command and control with compliance and security and all that good stuff. And so, I see a day where our business, much like FedEx, is more evenly distributed between end user, consumer, prosumer behavior and enterprise adoption. We're already starting to see, large deals that we're winning behind from people who are behind the firewall today, who are on-premise, and we're seeing really interesting things like people who sell hardware on-premise into our customers' data centers having to undercut us on price to win deals. So we're definitely seeing the mentality shift there from our customers.
Random question I just thought of, and I want to start asking guests this. What shows do you have coming up where people can meet you?
Let's see. If you're around in 2 hours from now, I'll be on the software stakes for social media Inside Enterprise. That's in Palo Alto, so I'll be there.
Okay.
We are going to be at the Cloud Summit, which is coming up either next month or the month after, I can't remember, and we'll be at Web 2.0 Expo as well.
Perfect.
Which are all in the next several months.
Excellent. Well, we'll track you down.
Do that. And,
in a good way, not in the crazy.
In a good way, in a very good way.
Not in a Foursquare stalker kind of way.
A Foursquare Gowalla kind of way.
Well, we're happy to getting good mileage out of the YouSendIt service, and tell your friends.
Definitely.
We
Everyone,
just did.
YouSendIt.com. Make sure to tell your friends. I seriously use it all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
All the time. Anything else you want to add? Thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
No, this was great. I think I had a good discussion today, and happy to be a guest again in the future.
Wonderful. If people want to find you instead of just tracking you down, where can they find you, Ranjith?
Well, like everyone else, I'm active on Twitter, so at Ranjith Kumaran is my handle on Twitter. You can reach us through the Facebook page, or you can email me, ranjith@yousendit.com. We're an email company. We get a lot of emails, but I hope to get to each and every one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think I hear something one more time. Do you?
You probably do.
I think I do.
Second. I'm preparing.
We're preparing.
Both my voice.
I am
my
preparing
breeze.
the man.
Storm on Demand. Wait, I have to get, there we go. Storm on Demand is an infrastructure as a service cloud computing platform that is powerful enough to replace all action figures that you may have. Also, dedicated servers. A proprietary cloud platform that was designed by Liquid Web and one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. It's very hard with my numb, I had like a numb lip for my wisdom. I had my wisdom tooth out earlier this week, so I don't know. It's easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include server setup in minutes, easy scaling, backup and restoration capabilities, and pay-as-you-go utility-style billing. Some options that they include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, fully managed servers, private networking, and much, much more. Unfortunately, unlike the $6 Million Man action figure that I had, you can't look through his eye. But I'm hoping in the next version of this particular action figure I can do that. But anyway, Storm on Demand, stormondemand.com. And don't forget, they are beyond dedicated. Beyond dedicated. Storm on Demand.
That was my man voice.
Yes. Very good. Frighteningly good man voice.
I don't know. It's just, it's the Lauren Bacall thing.
Still hanging around, I know.
Well, anyway, I want to take the time to, yet again, thank all of our guests that we've had on the show before and now. So make sure that you check Jan Aleman with Servoy. Jan, is there a Twitter handle or a website that you would like to point people to?
Yeah, we have both Servoy.com, and Twitter handle is also Servoy.
Okay.
That you can follow.
Excellent. So, again, Servoy, thank you so much for joining us today, Jan. And we've, just said thank you to Storm on Demand, but also Verticore.
Absolutely, Verticore has been fantastic.
And
oh, NetDNA. Silly of me for not saying that. I'm sorry, my fault. NetDNA. They basically all of our streams come out from NetDNA. Not the Ustream, obviously, but the afterwards the stuff that we put on iTunes, etc. That's all coming out of NetDNA. So it's a CDN. Mm-hmm.
So please, everybody, like we always say, give our sponsors some love. They're what makes this show happen. So please tweet out if you can. Thank you to Verticore, Storm on Demand, NetDNA. Yep. We saw you here on This Week in Cloud Computing because we need them. They support us and they help us.
Yes, they've been great, all of them.
So, we've already got some stuff lined up for next week. So make sure you stay tuned. Same time, same place.
We will be putting these show notes on before the show. We're going to try to get it 24 to 48 hours-ish beforehand. So you'll be able to see us, shuffling around all these papers and everything.
All of these notes.
All this stuff, we just put it up online on This Weekend on the cloud, This Week in Cloud Computing portion of This Weekend site.
And if people want to submit pitches, where do they go?
Absolutely. Just send me an email. It goes to me, and it actually goes to you now too. pitch@thisweekend.com, and that's pitch at thisweekend.com. It could be for a guest slot. It could be for a show even.
Yep.
So we're open to ideas. We're basically building this network as we go along. So
heck, if you even have an event coming up, like the Cloud Expo,
yes,
and you have speaking opportunities, you have your call for papers, you've got deadlines coming up, just like you saw today, we'll make sure that we include those.
Yes.
pitch@thisweekend.com. So I think that about wraps it up. I am your host, Amanda Coulong, and this has been This Week in Cloud Computing. Same time next week.